Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning indeed. We don't need this rain. My name's Reverend Juniper Meadows. I'm pleased to be your minister at Second Unitarian Church of Omaha, and we begin worship the same way every Sunday. Welcome back, Pete. With "Come, Come, Whoever You Are." Lyrics will be on the screen. You can rise and bow to your spirit if you feel so called, friends. We sing it twice in English and once in Spanish. Just do your best.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see such a big crowd here. Welcome. Welcome to this multi-platform service at the Second Unitarian Church of Omaha. My name is Pam Curtis Smith. My pronouns are she, her. I'm an aging white female with short hair and reading glasses, and I'm standing at a pulpit to speak to you today. I have the privilege of serving as your worship associate alongside our settled minister, Reverend Juniper Meadows. Yay. As we wrap up our Summer of Powerful Love, this Labor Day weekend, we will reflect on the life and work of Mother Jones and explore the work that weaves our modern society together. I'd like to extend a special welcome to those of you who are visiting us in search of a spiritual home. Our small congregation is pretty full today, which is nice. It's growing and changing as new people find us. We gather here to connect with others, to challenge our thinking, to live our stated values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity, and to create meaning in all aspects of our lives. We're glad that you have chosen to join us on this journey. So maybe you heard Zoom proclaim we record this service in order to edit it and post elements of it on YouTube. With that in mind, be aware that if you are toward the front of the sanctuary, you may be captured on camera. I invite you to do what you need to do to be comfortable here in this space and to fully engage with the service. Please silence and put away your cell phones and refrain from taking photos without receiving consent from the individuals that you capture in a photo. Feel free to move around, familiarize yourself with the space, the locations of the bathrooms off the foyer and in the basement. There's emergency equipment by the front door, by the bathrooms, and the exits are through the minister's office and out the front doors and in the basement. Any one of you may use our fidget bags, fidget toys, activity bags, or you may simply remain seated to reflect on what you see and hear today. So now, as our first act of worship, I invite you to turn and greet one another, get up, move around, and for those of you joining us on Zoom, I invite you to turn your microphone on and join in as well.
Well, again, my name is Reverend Juniper Meadows. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a tall, curly-haired woman with glasses, and I have a clergy stole with a luna moth and a chalice. I'm wearing a green cape because, you know, we all like a good bit of drama. Yes, and also the sounds of joyful life and laughter that we have for welcome. Keep that alive during our after hour. We'll have an after hour downstairs to discuss the service with friends and community members. You all are welcome to attend, and we will have coffee and light refreshments afterwards and fellowship, so stick around for a bit after worship. We'd love to get to know you better. Just a couple very brief announcements, not to put too fine a point on it, an installation service is on the 13th of September. So be on the lookout for that. I'm excited. I didn't have to plan it, so I have no idea what's happening. They asked me, what do you want for your installation? I want to not plan it, which was graciously gifted to me. I trust it will be a wonderful, wonderful experience. So please come and see all the love that people have put together. We have tonight the open mic. Dave Nesbitt is here somewhere. Yeah, there he is. Dave Nesbitt and I have an open mic here on the last Sunday of the month from 5:30 to 7:30. You can bring a story, a song. We like to keep it PG-13. But do pass through, friends. Do pass through. Share your talents with us. It's kind of a variety show kind of feel. It's a lot of fun. And also, just so you all know, this past Friday, we had our Wild Worship programming with our friends at First United Methodist Church. That's where we gather with our partners at FUMC to root ourselves in the more than human world of nature and to find common spirituality amongst and for everybody. And we gathered and had a wonderful potluck, and I hope we can continue that partnership, and I look forward to joining y'all with them in September. And now I will invite Pam. Oh, also, there's a Labor Day protest on Monday. Check the Discord server. If you're not on the Discord server, there's a link back there, and if that doesn't work, well, get a friend to get you on the Discord server. It's a great way to stay in touch with Second Unitarian Church of Omaha. I'm going to get out of the way and invite Pam up for the chalice lighting.
The flaming chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism identity. Lighting the chalice signals the entry of this gathered community into a sacred space. As we light the chalice created specifically for our church by a former member and lit by Kathy Huggins, I'd like to share these words by Paul Dalzell. On this Sunday before Labor Day, we light this flame to honor all work. Not only the work we do for pay with our hands, our backs, and our minds, that is important, yes, but also the work we do for love. The work we do to help others stay alive and belong instead of being outcasts. The work we do to ensure people are paid fairly, work reasonable hours, and have quality in their lives. The work we do caring for the young, the old, the infirm. The work we do to mentor, to educate, to advocate, and to enrich the community, the country, and the world. We honor all the labors that support our world and all the work we do to make this a better place. Thank you, Kathy. And now for our covenant. In our Free Church tradition, the boundaries of our community are determined by commitment and participation rather than a creed. Our covenant, the promises we make to each other regarding how we will be as a community of faith, is part of what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Please join me in this covenant. It's adapted from the words of James Villa Blake. Sarah is going to share the words on the screen in English and in Spanish. So I invite you to join me in reciting our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, the quest for truth, our sacrament. And this is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another believe more fully in life. And the Spanish version is shared as we continue our efforts toward diversity and inclusion and honoring those people for whom Spanish is their first language. Please join me again. El amor es el espíritu de nuestra iglesia, la búsqueda de la verdad, nuestro sacramento. Y esto es nuestro acuerdo, que convivamos en paz, que busquemos en la verdad, y que nos ayudemos uno al otro a creer más en la vida.
We have a special little bonus video, Inspiration Struck, and I thought, well, it would be nice if we're going to be exploring the life and work of Mother Jones, if we can hear from her herself. So here is the only recorded video that we could find of Mother Jones. Will you share that clip, Sarah?
And I long to see the day when labor will have the destinies of the nation in her own hands, and that she will stand a united force and show the world what the workers can do.
I have a short reading by Valerie Carr. It's called More Than a Feeling. Love is more than a feeling. Love is a form of sweet labor, fierce, bloody, imperfect, and life-giving, a choice we make over and over again. If love is sweet labor, love can be taught, modeled, and practiced. This labor engages all our emotions. Joy is the gift of love. Grief is the price of love. Anger protects that which is loved. And when we think we have reached our limit, wonder is the act that returns us to love.
Amen. As Pam was reading, I was reminded last Sunday we explored the life and work of Reverend Fred Rogers, and he would often say everything human is mentionable, everything mentionable is manageable, and how we get to here on the precipice of something like Labor Day is through all of that, right? Grief is the price of love, anger protects what is loved, wonder leads us back home. I wonder about this lady we just saw on the screen. Who is she? Mother Jones lives, as they sometimes say at union gatherings. I had cause to visit the Matewan Coal Mine Wars Museum in West Virginia some weeks ago when I was attending a friend's wake. The stories in that place could comprise dozens of sermons, surely. Today, I'd love to lift up just one who you may know, or you might not. Her name's on a magazine these days. She has nonetheless touched the life of all who labor. Mary Harris Jones was born in 1837 in Cork, Ireland, during a time of immense suffering. The Irish potato famine, as it's come to be known, the great starving, was ravaging the country. There is so much more we could say about this too. Mary's family, like so many, fled to North America while she was still a child, settling first in Canada before moving down to the United States. And then she was trained as a dressmaker and a school teacher and lived a fairly conventional life until 1867. And she was living in Memphis, Tennessee with her husband and her children, and yellow fever swept through the city, claiming her entire family. In her autobiography, she writes, "I sat alone through nights of grief. No one came, no one could." She would eventually move to Chicago and opened a dressmaking shop that catered primarily to the wealthy. But fate is unrelenting, because there was the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, which destroyed her business, and with it, the last remnants of her old life. She later said of the wealthy women that she had sewn for, "I would look out the shop windows and see the poor tramping through the streets. My employers were concerned about their gowns and lace while children went hungry. It was then that I turned to the labor movement. And from that point forward, she considered the working class her family. She would be supported by and come to partner closely with the emerging Knights of Labor. That is a truly broad-based coalition of laborers of all kinds, united across their difference for the common good." Mary Harris Jones was radicalized. That is not a bad word, by the way. To be a radical is to have roots, right? So this is what we mean by radicalized, to be rooted in one's life, one's material, real experience. Doesn't mean you're yakadoo. It means you're real. It means you're here. She was radicalized, developed that sense of rootedness through loss. That loss filtered through the lens of faith. Mary never rejoined formal church life afterwards, but her Irish Catholic background infuses her with a prophetic moral voice. She wasn't interested in some abstract ideal of heaven or hell. Mother Jones' gospel was the dignity of the worker here on earth, an early expression of what we might call beloved community today. And by the 1890s, she had become a very familiar figure in union halls, mining towns, strike camps, all across the country. And her white hair and old-fashioned black dress, her grandmotherly appearance made her stand out in a crowd. But it was her timeless and tireless energy, her fierce, cutting tongue that won her the title of mother. She called the miners and mill workers her boys, and they in turn called her Mother Jones. And like any good mama, she was not afraid of confrontation when it came to those in her care. At mass meetings of miners, she would rouse those who had been cowed by poverty and intimidation by gun thugs into fighting back. She'd lead marches, she defied injunctions, she courted arrest with this kind of mischievous trickster's glee. in West Virginia, where the coal wars raged in the early 20th century. She was denounced by a prosecutor as the most dangerous woman in America. And of course, you do that. She loved that title. She loved it, and she wore it as a badge of honor. Mother Jones' deepest ties were with the coal miners. She traveled into the mining camps of West Virginia and Pennsylvania and Colorado, where folks, men, and also children worked in deadly conditions, often paid in scrip, which is a kind of monopoly money that you use at the company store. She organized strikes, sometimes for months at a time, y'all. These things drug on for a long time. And the only way for that to happen is if people are working together and taking care of one another. There's a lot to learn about how we ought to remember to live from these experiences. I would often live in tents. This old matronly grandmother living in tents with rough miners' families. In 1897, she was a key organizer in the Pennsylvania anthracite strikes. That's a kind of coal. Later in Colorado's 1913 to 14 coal wars, she was again a visible leader, clashing with the Colorado National Guard, private detectives hired by John D. Rockefeller's Colorado Fuel and Iron Company. Needless to say, this is someone who truly lived. Perhaps her most dramatic and enduring action was the March of Child Textile Workers in 1903. We're having a Pulp Fiction moment. We're going back and forth. Child labor was rampant across this country, especially in mills, where children as young as 7 years old worked a 12-hour day. To dramatize this injustice, Mother Jones gathered hundreds of children and marched them through Philadelphia to President Theodore Roosevelt's summer home in Oyster Bay, New York. She carried banners that says, "We want time to play and we want to go to school." And though Roosevelt refused to meet with them, that march gained a national attention and helped build the momentum for child labor reform. It's important to remember as a sort of protest tactic, y'all. Sometimes you're not going to convince the person with a lot of power, but you might convince other people who see you advocating for the good, for the righteousness. That is something we also do when we gather as one. In 1905, Mother Jones joins with Big Bill Haywood, Eugene Debs, other good troublemakers to found the Industrial Workers of the World. That's called the IWW. They also were called the Wobblies. That's a fun name. The IWW envisioned one big union for all workers, regardless of trade, skill, gender, or race. And while Mother Jones remained closest to the UMWA, that's the United Miners Workers Association, her involvement with the IWW demonstrates her broader vision of solidarity and likely speaks to her involvement with the Knights of Labor, who took care of her so well when her dress shop burned down in Chicago, because they were also a broad-based union coalition. Even into her 80s, y'all, Mother Jones is still marching on picket lines, getting arrested, giving speeches, and she died in around 1930, around the age of 93, and was buried in the Union Miners Cemetery in Mount Olive, Illinois, alongside miners killed in the Verdun Massacre of 1898. On her gravestone is carved an epitaph: "Pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living." I think it's important to remember as we go into our own Labor Day, which can sometimes just feel like a day off of work, that this is hard won, and we'll talk more about this shortly. But in Mother Jones' time, the idea of a coal mine war wasn't that uncommon. It really wasn't, because people were so neglected and so abused that they had to turn to something, had to turn to some vehicle of change. And sometimes the National Guard attacked them because the country needed the coal to keep flowing. When we denigrate humanity, we invite massive conflict. I think it's important that we remember this now. In a time of so much political tension, we must remember what is worth preserving, what is worth protecting, what is holiest, the connections we have towards one another, the people we love, the people we know, and the people we don't know quite well yet. But of course, Mother Jones isn't a theorist. She was a fighter. She scorned elites and reformers who only wanted halfway measures. She believed in collective power, y'all, in solidarity and in courage. She often said she wasn't a socialist or an anarchist, though she admired both camps. What she truly was a populist labor radical. There's that word again. who believed the workers themselves had the wisdom and the right to rule their own lives. Her maternal image, the little old lady in the black dress, this is partly who she is, but it's also partly strategy, right? She called herself mother because she knew that working men would not easily offend or harm a woman who looked like their own grandma. She knew what she was doing, and she knew that poor children needed someone to advocate for them. But underneath that kindly grandmother was an iron will. I know there's some grandmas with iron wills in here. Of course, Mother Jones is but one figure in a much, much wider movement. Regular people, extraordinary in everyday ways, make up the majority of the movement for justice then and now. One such person, a contemporary of Mother Jones, was one Florence Reese, was a coal miner's wife and poet of the movement. I'll invite our dulcet singers to go ahead and come forward if they want to. We're going to sing a song. But the song has a bit of a story behind it. We love a good legend. When hired guns, coordinated by the notorious anti-union sheriff, J.H. Blair, bust into the home of Florence Reese in the middle of the night to search for her husband, she and her children were naturally terrorized. Florence took that fear, tore a page off the calendar, and wrote the words that would become the seed of this song. And it would be collected and popularized by Pete Seeger, and she would go on to become a folk singer of renown in her own right. But music and poetry is every bit essential in the cause of love and justice, worthy labors and worth sharing. So, hear this song. Every Sunday at Second Unitarian Church of Omaha, we have a time for folks to be up and about in the space or right where you are. Everything is voluntary participation, y'all, no pressure. But you are invited, as you feel so led, to come to the front or to the back. These stations are also in the back. And to take a flower, if you like, a flower of fellowship. We have plenty. You can take one, give to a friend, keep one for yourself. In that same basket and in a plate on the back, there are also stones. There's a lot weighing folks down lately, right? I invite you to find something that's weighing you down and take up a stone and connect that sense of a burden to what you're carrying. When you're ready, give it back to the water. If there is something in your life you'd like to shine a little light on, friends, come and take a stick. You may offer it to the candle. Sometimes it takes a second. If you're a younger person, I invite you to get a bigger person to help you with this because fire. And then you light a candle with an intention or an aspiration, or just to light a candle. It just feels nice to do. When you're done, make sure you put it out all the way in the salt. Over here is our book of life, and this is very important. You can write whatever you want to, friends, your brief reflection, a poem, a prayer. You can sign your name. You can stay anonymous. That's okay too. What is written in the book of life will be shared in an extemporaneous prayer of the people following altar building. And because the offering is a sacrament as worthy of any of these, we do take our offering up during altar building as well. And Pam will tell us more about that.
Each week, this generous congregation shares half of our offering with a local organization to join in the transforming work of love and justice. Our partner for July and August has been Restoring Dignity. At the heart of Restoring Dignity is the belief that something can and should be done to meet the needs of Omaha's refugee community through empowerment, education, and advocacy partnerships. They provide resettled refugee families with crucial services such as home makeovers, relief programs, and language access support. They achieve this by sending an educator from the family's community into homes to teach critical skills in the language the family speaks. They also provide critical housing advocacy for refugees who are struggling with substandard living conditions. Restoring Dignity's Welcome Home program is one of a kind in the United States. Social justice is at the heart of our church, and every day you use Show Up. Please give generously to use Share the Plate offering to support Restoring Dignity and our church. In addition to the offering box, you can use the QR code that I think is in your order of service. Yay. And it's also on the church website. Or you can mail in a check. If you mail in a check, please write Share the Plate in the memo line so we know how to allocate your contribution. However you choose to give, all donations are gratefully received and very much appreciated.
Normally, we jump right in from here, but there's been some especially heavy news lately that I'd like to address. You may have heard about or seen pictures about a shooting at a church in Minneapolis. And when we hear stories like this, it's okay to talk about it and to ask questions, no matter how big or small we may be. Asking questions and learning can sometimes help us to deal with our fear. But for grown-ups, sometimes we may feel like we know too much. The bombardment of attacks from all angles can make us want to turtle up and hide under what protections we think we have. It's most important for us grown-ups to find effective ways to deal with our fear. When I'm feeling afraid, I like to meditate. I imagine my fear as a tension to be soothed. I root myself in gratitude for the good things and the good people that hold me. I hope you have those too. I like to snuggle with my dog. I like to play music. I even like to pray, even if it doesn't always help. It feels nice for me. There are so many good things we can do to help us stay present in the midst of scary news. Can you think of a few things yourself? When we can deal with our fear, not put it away, not decimate it or pretend it isn't there, but when we can deal with our fear, then we can become brave. Being brave does not mean we don't have fear. Mother Jones knew this. All people who've really gone in thick for the cause of righteousness know this. It doesn't mean that we don't have fear, only that we know how to deal with our fear. When we are brave, we can do things like advocate for meaningful change, right? By partnering with people in our community and the coalitions we belong to. We can do other important things too, like organizing events for you and your friends to find fellowship together. It's really all community organizing all the way down. The organization of the common good, united in solidarity. This is how we meet the moment, by meeting with and dealing with our fear so that we can be available to change, present to children, ready to make a difference. Hearing that, friends, I invite our Dulcet Singers forward. And I invite you to be about this space in a way that feels good for you, engaging with the stations, handing flowers to friends. This is your time. May you join me in a moment of prayerful contemplation, friends, as we hear these prayers of the people. Spirit of life, love, and all the good that turns in the world, sometimes unseen, sometimes even unfelt, but always ever presently there, found in the connections we have with one another, with people from the past, with people in the future, with people right now, people who are hungry for love and connection and safety ourselves and others. May we remember how good it is to think of others and to hold them in our hearts, how good it is to advocate on behalf of others, to hold them in our actions, how good it is to advocate for ourselves and hold our own hearts to our own light so that we can better clarify our own worth and dignity. For all those in the world who suffer under unjust persecution, under unjust, well, no wars are just, all who suffer under war and occupation, all those who struggle with the heavy and the light, may our hearts be with them. May we be tuned towards attention, towards care, and the magnification of love. And may we hear the prayers of this community, knowing that all that is a life is the container of what is heavy and what is light, what is hard and what is soft, what is joyful and what is sorrowful. All of these may have the character of the holy. They may all lead us towards wisdom. The first Labor Day, of course, was recognized in 1894 10 years prior to that, it had begun as a mass protest in New York City when 10,000 workers walked off the job to protest working conditions. Labor Day was a compromise, a co-option meant to funnel a revolutionary sentiment into a legislated holiday. That makes it sound bad, but it's a good thing that we get to celebrate it. I mean, it's important that we reflect on where it comes from. It doesn't mean anything if we aren't mindful of it. The International Socialist Movement had in 1889 named May 1st as Labor Day to mark the Haymarket riots in Chicago in 1886. And that preceding that was a decade of unrest. On May Day in 1896, a riot broke out in Cleveland, Ohio, when the Pullman strike spread nationwide. As the strife rose, President Cleveland urged Congress to pass a federal holiday not on May 1st, but on the first Monday in September. Of course, he didn't want to nod to the Socialist Party, hence why we celebrate Labor Day tomorrow. Isn't that fun? How much do we value work? In the book of Genesis, the creation of the world and all things is figured as labor, leading even God to rest. Rest would seem to be the just reward for a job well done. Few things feel better, feed the heart, or tend the soul, and so it is this compromise day. It is that this compromise day must not lose its meaning, nor must the labors of love lose their meaning. And yet, as time inches onward, we are so prone to forget, to take for granted the world that has risen up around us, built by another's hands. Perhaps we even discount the necessity of our own labor, our own efforts. For not all work is treated evenly. Ask any stay-at-home mother. So-called unskilled laborers, which are not mothers, goodness gracious, are often maligned, mistreated, underpaid, overworked. We know there is no such thing as unskilled labor. No matter what you do, you're doing something, and skill is that which we attain by practice. Every motion of the human body, every channel of thought arises as a kind of skill born from experience. The very concept of unskilled labor is born of the supposed necessity to create a class of grunts and peons whom the talking heads and politicians now refer to ever so politely as essential workers, many of whom essentially took home little more money than they would have otherwise while working under the plague of COVID. What gives? Referring to the Bible again, what keeps this so-called Christian nation from fulfilling the top commandment Jesus himself laid plain, to love thy neighbor as thy love thyself? Perhaps we love ourselves too little, take too much of the magic of life for granted, forget just how interwoven we are. Perhaps we are afraid of the revolution of the Spirit that would upset the status quo should the scales fall from our collective national inner vision, that we may understand one another and our own selves as being inherently worthy of work that matters, worthy of rest, and rest that is restorative, and our work, whatever it may be, worthy of the name and dignity of labor. By most metrics, organized labor has been in decline in this country these past several years. Growing up, I have very clear memories of my folks, well-intended, maligning unions as inessential, even obstructive. That sentiment was rather widespread back home, but amongst my own generation and other generations, I detect a turning. For all the floundering of the 90s and early 2000s, it seems a new thing might be breaking through, a new world may be born in the midst of the ruins. This congregation participated in ballot initiatives enshrining necessary labor reform policy just last year. That word, enshrining, is the correct word. For those good ideas which promote equity, pluralism, and justice are surely worthy of the spirit of reverence. Hard-won, holy words written into law. We must remain at once vigilant enough to protect what needs preserving, and vulnerable enough to be moved by love's demands heard in the common cry of humanity. We owe such a tremendous debt to organized labor and those brave souls who, while imperfect, set about rallying fellow workers to make demands on a time when working conditions were downright aberrant. The earliest strike I could find in our area in Omaha was in 1900, when bread bakers protested the dungeon-like conditions where even young children were foisted into basements to bake in large furnaces with very little ventilation and nothing resembling air conditioning, nor the basic things workers of all sorts expect from their employers, an 8-hour day, for instance. It's tremendously easy to take such things for granted. But prior to the efforts of organized labor, there was no such thing. We forget, right? Let this day be a reminder in our common gatherings of our time to rest. Let us not forget. Let us take time to rest, but let us also remember. And remember what solidarity means. Solidarity doesn't mean we agree on everything all of the time. It means we recognize and reckon with the common dignity of everyone around us, who we are with, who is on our coalition, our team. It is a way of recognizing humanity with everybody too, but especially in common efforts for justice. This is when solidarity comes into play. It's about commitment, unity or agreement in feeling or action. That such an idea might prick up a feeling with some Unitarian Universalists sometimes, oh no, groupthink, the dreaded uniformity of thought. And that's all fair, for there is a danger in eroding the will of the self in light of such a force, but we are Unitarians, and there are many things we ourselves are already of one mind on. Would any amongst us say that questions are not valuable? Perhaps even sacred, should that language have value for us. Politically, I imagine we have far more in common than not, and even when we do have differences, those differences can be nested and held in common humanity and common respect. Unions, like all institutions, are imperfect. Some might suggest that the adoption of a union is replacing one overlord for another, but the best unions abide by that iron rule. We lift up last year on Labor Day and many times before. Do you remember the iron rule? Do not do for others what they can do for themselves, which can sound callous. But in considering disability advocacy and dignity of folks, this is incredibly important, to go on a mild tangent. For what could make a heart feel more powerless than to have everything done for them? And we must also remember, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. That's Spider-Man and other people. But Saul Alinsky, you can find his book, Rules for Radicals, back there on the shelf, says that, this may be true, but powerlessness is far more corruptive. And so we must reckon with our own power and seek to empower others by connecting them to their own work of liberation for themselves. When people can't do for themselves, we do. When they can, we make room and encouragement that they can do for themselves and can build and recognize their own power. We do this with groups like OTOC frequently. We do this work here at Second Unitarian, and we take this stuff seriously like it's sacred. Here, in how we budget, we ensure our workers here get a fair shake as best the budget will allow, and ensure that they are compensated for travel and are able to take time off to recover without worrying that they won't be able to make ends meet. And we do this, etch these into our own congregational bylaws and personnel policies, not because some denominational overlord is bidding us to do so, but because anything else would be exploitative and run counter to the values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. It would be, in a word, unloving. So as your employee, because I am your employee, and your minister, may I say thank you. May the grace and dignity you extend to workers here be extended onto yourselves and those you may manage apart from this sacred space. May we always, always, always practice kindness and look to the dignity of service workers, delivery drivers, line cooks, the people who take your garbage out, teachers, coal miners, those who labor for us with their minds, with their bodies, and with their hearts. May we invite that spirit of solidarity into our hearts, one mind in this at least, that we and all people are deserving, worthy, made in the image of the sacred, each of us nodes in the web of life and the web of love, and may we live like it. May we live like it, and may we labor for it, and may we sing our last song, Solidarity Forever. Will you read the chalice extinguishing with me, friends? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Doxology.
Praise love from which all goodness shines. Praise freedom lifted to the skies. Praise the fires of the mind. Praise all the joy we've yet to find.
Prophetic Church, this world awaits your labors of righteousness, your living and liberating ministry. Maybe go from this place and be fools for love and pilgrims for justice. And until we meet again, maybe rock, roll, and move towards that spirit of beloved community on the horizon. Go in peace. Stick around for after hour and fellowship, friends. See you soon.